Alrighty. But I'm recording it anyway, so you can just send them the link to this as well. So, guys, welcome to the TGIM, our first of 2019, outside of the goal-setting workshops that we did for you guys online. And it's going to be, we're going to do today, just for you guys who just weren't on that little talk before, on leadership and developing leadership and how to be a leader, and maybe just some mindset stuff firstly. But for me, just off the cuff, the reason, like, why do we want to be a leader? You know, what's in it for you? And when you look at, if you have desires, I guess, to be successful in anything, it's never the followers that do it, is it? And we're going to talk about that in a minute, what great leaders actually do. Like great leaders, there's leaders, I think, and then there's really good leaders, and the difference. But, you know, if you want to attain success in any real area, especially career, maybe running a business, in any of these things, it's really the leaders that get that done and attain that top 1% type of status. The reason being, and I guess just to kick us off, one of the things I think that make great leaders is having a vision and be able to get people to buy into that vision. But we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on as well. But, you know, if you do, and this is on leadership development as well, so being one yourself and then developing others into that role as well. But if you do wish to develop leaders, number one, the thing we have to realize is as human beings, everyone's different. It's a dynamic thing being human, and we change. So really, number one is we have to appreciate people for who they are, you know, and their skill set and what that can bring, and how they can develop their strengths and their weaknesses. You know, some people, they think that if you develop your weaknesses and just maintain your strengths, it works out. I don't think so. I think you have to be developing both. Number two is believe that they will do their very best. Because if we're talking about developing leaders, I think that's a given that people give their all. Maybe they need some direction. Maybe they need some guidance. Maybe they need some mentoring. Maybe they need someone else to look at the picture differently, you know, because sometimes we just know what we know, and then someone else who's been maybe in that situation or has experience or maybe a bit older or wiser can look at that situation and actually see something completely different to what that person's done. That's why we do personal development to a degree, or at least put good information into our brains so we can see those differences that maybe other people that aren't doing that can't. Number three is praise people's accomplishments. So recognize people. Great leaders do that, you'll find. You know, they're the first to congratulate people. And usually the first to recognize if they've made a mistake as well. And number four is to accept your own personal responsibility to them. So if you're developing great leaders, it means you have a responsibility to other people as a leader to turn them into what, you know, unlock that potential of leadership within them. And that's a responsibility, you know, like everything when you're working with people. So I want to read you guys a quote from this book that I have here. And this is from, so the guy that actually said this was a coach. His name was Bear Bryant. I know, funny name, but he's American, so they just kind of throw these names out. But, and it just kind of really resonated with me, so I want to read it to you. And there's another thing I'm going to read to you about geese in here as well. But it says, and in quotes, "I'm just a plowhand from Alabama, but I have learned how to hold a team together, how to lift some men up, how to calm others down, until finally they got one heartbeat together as a team. There's always just three things I say. If anything goes bad, I did it." So taking that responsibility away from your people. "If anything goes semi-good, then we did it. If anything goes really good, then they did it." Yeah, so it's really a really modest approach that he takes. And that's all it takes to get people to win. So taking some burdens away from people, especially when they're developing, giving them all the recognition, and if things are going well as a team, recognizing everything involved with that as well, and the joint efforts. So I'm going to run through some stuff here for you as well, guys. So the top 1% of great leaders know that acquiring and keeping great leaders is the most important task. An organization cannot increase its productivity. So the actual physical organization, the company, is really just an ID on a piece of paper and maybe some expenses and some liabilities. It can't actually increase production, but people can. Great leaders can increase production within your business. And that's just not, I know we work with Herbalife, but that's a business mentality all around. Or maybe if you guys are in a sports team, it's a sports team all around, because if we're developing people to be a true leader and unlock their potential, of course your team's going to be better as a result of that. And that's transparent across anything involved with a team as well. So this is what successful leaders do right here. Most importantly, leaders lead. So they lead by example, to me. Really a manager is someone who says, go do that. Whereas a good leader will say, let's go do that. As in, let's go together and do that. Importantly, they develop leaders around them as well. So they have that mindset that, individually I'm limited, but together we're unlimited. And that doesn't threaten them. And importantly, like I mentioned before, they get people to see their vision. They get people to implement their vision. They get people to buy into that vision and contribute to that vision as well. Other leaders, and you'll find, there's a saying, birds of the feather flock together. You're telling enough people your vision and it's exciting and it excites you, you'll find that you'll naturally attract those leaders into your business as well. But like I was saying earlier, there's two different types of leaders for Mind as well. And really great leaders build other leaders. And then there's the type of leader that just has followers. All right, and the type of leaders that just kind of have followers, they can get some stuff done and maybe do some good stuff, but they'll never be great because the burden will always be on them to be showing people the way. And as soon as you stop showing people the way, the followers, they're just like sheep. They'll just stop doing whatever it is. Your vision will collapse. But if you're creating leaders, they don't need to be shown the way. They just need to be directed. It's kind of like putting a train on the train tracks. They just need to be directed which way to go. So who do you want to surround yourself with? Do you want to attract a whole bunch of followers and have that responsibility that's endless? Or do you want to attract a whole bunch of leaders and have that unlimited capacity to achieve your vision, whatever that is for you? So, and this kind of ties into the power of association, this bit as well, about leadership, because I've spoken about that before on these calls, but the closest to the leader will determine the success level of that leader. So meaning the people around them will determine their success. Are they followers or are they leaders to you? Like those people in that core group are going to determine the success level. And sure, you can have success with followers, but it's infinite when you're surrounded by a whole bunch of leaders. And John F. Kennedy's quoted, "The best way to get along is to get along with others." So there's a kind of like a comparison here, guys, and I might just read this out of the book, between the kind of touches on that as well. And these are the different mindsets, I think, between people who have that leadership mentality, and this just kind of resonated with me, and the people that don't. So I'll start with the people that don't. Okay, so, and this is under the heading in the book, it's called Winning by Competitiveness. And the other one's called Winning by Cooperation. Okay, so the competitiveness one, it says, look at others as enemies. So this is what that mindset does. And this is like sure, you can be a leader, but you're just not going to be able to achieve super great things. Concentrate on yourself. Become suspicious of others. Win only if you are good. So it's totally reliant on you being good, which is never a good thing for me. Winning determined by your skills. You'll have small victories, some joy, and there'll be winners and losers. All right, so winning by cooperation. They look at others as friends. They concentrate on others. They become supportive of others. They win if you or others are good. So it's not reliant on you, which is important to me. Winning determined by the skills of many, which obviously makes your business or organization so much stronger if there's a widespread of responsibility and leadership compared to maybe one or two or three people doing the bulk of the work. You'll have large victories, you'll have heaps of joy, and there'll only be winners. So I thought that was pretty cool when I read that in the book. Grow the leader, grow the organization. And there's on the different type of leaders as well, like just as a self-reflection, or maybe this might relate to someone who you're thinking of. I'm not sure, but there's two different types, right? And they say leaders hold one of two buckets. One's full of water and one's full of gasoline. And if there's a fire within the organization, what type of leader are you? Do you go pour the gasoline on that and make it worse? Or do you go put the water on that and put that out? And sometimes as human beings, it's nearly easier to throw the gasoline on things because we're so emotionally based, and we act on impulse a lot as well. But that's why it's good to be surrounded by leaders, because you can have those honest discussions, and generally you'll find that the water bucket's probably the better idea. I'm sure people would agree with that. Cool. So I just want to read this out of the book as well, guys, because this book's outstanding. But it's about geese, and it's about how they demonstrate leadership in their V formation. So I'm just going to read it to you, and it actually has the leadership lessons attached in brackets as well. So just bear with me. When you see geese heading south for the winter flying along in the V formation, you might be interested in knowing the science that has discovered why they fly that way. Research has revealed that as each bird flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the bird immediately behind it. By flying in the V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew on its own. 71%. So, and I guess the lesson there is people who share a common direction and sense of community get where they're going more quicker and easily because they are traveling on one another's thrust. So they're going together, yeah? Whenever a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone, which, might be relating to, our organizations or our business, where we've kind of dropped away from the community and going it alone, and it feels like you can really feel the drag, right? It quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front. So I guess the lesson, I kind of just said this, but if we as people have as much sense as a goose, we would stay in formation. And so those who are headed the same way, with those who are headed the same way we are. When the lead goose gets tired, he rotates back in the V formation and another goose flies the point. So the lesson is it pays to take turns doing the hard jobs. The geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep their speed up. What do we say when we honk from behind? Right? So what are we saying to our people in that same situation? And finally, when geese get sick or wounded, or falls out, I won't say what it says here. Two other geese fall out of formation and follow it to the ground to help and protect it. They stay with the goose until it is either able to fly again or dead, and then they launch out on their own with another formation to catch up with their group. So, and the lesson here is if we have the same sense of a goose, we would stand up for each other like that. So I guess when it relates to our, our businesses or our organizations or maybe our workplace or whatever that is, are we doing those things? And I guess next time someone calls you like a goose or a silly goose, it's a compliment, because they're actually pretty cool. So I guess as a leader, we spoke about attracting leaders as well. And the reason that will be is you'll attract people who are leaders because you think like them. You have a similar mission to them. You'll be able to express feelings that other leaders sense. It says leaders create an environment that attracts potential leaders as well. And leaders are not threatened by people with great potential. So, guys, that's it for tonight. We're just talking leadership. Hopefully, you guys got some different information. We kind of spoke about different things and I guess the normal stuff. But just in closing, guys, before I open this up for questions, it takes a leader to know a leader, grow a leader, and show a leader. So, I guess mission one with that statement is we've got to work on ourselves and work on these attributes and be the best version of ourselves. And then we're going to attract those potential leaders into our life. So I'm going to open this up for questions for maybe 5 guys. And then we're going to leave you guys to it. So let rip if you got any.
What was the name of the book again, Jared?
It was called Developing the Leaders Around You.
And where would you get that from?
I got it as a gift, so I don't know, but probably online. I think the audio book's also on the bookstore on your iPhone if you have one.
Cool. Can you post the name of it on Facebook? Because I know I'm going to forget already.
Yep, no problem. I'll put it
Thanks,
in the comments when I post the recording.
Thank you.
The drama. Other Tash is saying, why don't you have a pen and you're taking notes so you can write it down? That's okay.
I'm driving.
She's driving.
I have a question. I already know this. What qualities do you look for when looking for leaders?
So Bobby just asked, what qualities do I look for when I'm looking for leaders? And really, the main quality I look for, because I think a lot can be learned, is people that just kind of do. Have you ever been to a cafe and you're there and there's a couple of staff members that are just working and they're not getting told what to do. They're just working. They're working hard. They're doing their thing. And then there's people that are just standing behind the counter talking, not doing a thing. I want to, like the leaders there are the ones that are just getting out there and doing it. And maybe they're brand new at the job and they don't really know what they're doing. They're just jumping in with both feet and working it out. I want people with that sense of, I want people with those type of, action attributes, I guess. That's all I really look for. I think you can kind of tell when if you're in any type of group environment, the people that kind of rise to the top and they just do stuff that, for me, they're the leaders. I guess from a Herbalife perspective, that, sometimes you talk to one of your new members and they're like, I've already done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And they just don't have to be told. They just do, or they just do what they think is best. They just take that action. And then your role as a mentor to them is just put them in the right environment so they can learn the information because they've already got that skill of just doing it. Yeah. So that's what I look for. Because I nailed it, mate. That's why Cole doesn't have a question. She might be riding their bike. Yeah. She goes, I'm stumped. Cole just said. Stumped her. Cool. All right, guys. Well, what we'll do, if nothing comes through in between now and the time I log this off, is I'll post this on our groups. Oh, just had one come through, which I'll answer. It always happens. Hey, when you're trying to close it off, there's always a question that comes through. It's crazy. This is a good question. What would you do? Well, they're all questions, but what would you do if you notice one of your leaders leaving the flock? What would I do? Adriana's doing like a fishing emoji. What I guess what can you do? Because if they're a leader, I guess your role as their mentor is to educate them on that understanding that they are leaving the flock, and that's why it might be affecting their results or their mindset or whatever. But I guess that comes down to promoting as well. And sometimes we make assumptions that people understand why they should be around the flock, even if they are a potential leader. Sometimes people are really strong in their leadership ability. Like the coach said, some people are so far up, that they want to go off and do their own thing, which is fine. But if they don't base that on that sense of community, they're never going to be able to impart their vision on people. So I think it's an education thing, but it's also a promotion thing to have people knowing the understanding and that kind of sense of why the flock is important, right? Got to be careful how I say that, hey? So it comes down to three things: promotion, education of why. Just because they show leadership qualities doesn't mean they're educated on the importance yet. So that's kind of your role to put them in that environment. When we spoke about creating those environments that attract and grow potential leaders, or mentioned it, that's part of that. So they're in there for enough time to actually understand the importance of it. Promotion as well, so they understand what's in it for them for actually being around it. And then if you've ticked both of those things and they still want to go out and leave the flock, hopefully they have enough understanding and leadership qualities and work ethic, and they actually understand, and they've gone to create their own, right? Sometimes it's not such a bad thing to do that if they are going to create their own, but they have to understand that, it's, I guess, the team or the whatever the environment there, that they're always there to cover their back as well, and they still do need that community while they're creating their own. I think independent leaders, it's one of those things that the reason why they're a leader is because they're independent, right? So they might do these things. So it's really an education and an understanding thing, I think. Alrighty, so what we'll do now, I'm gonna come through right now, I bet. What we'll do now is we'll close it off, guys. So thanks for listening. I'll chuck the recording up if you want to go again and write some notes, Tash Gillen. And if you have any questions, just write it in the comments and tag me in and I'll answer them there. Cheers, guys. And I'll put a photo in this book for you. Cheers.